We don't have a script to follow or big-time endorsements.
We're not professional hunters.
No such thing in this country.
We are professional outfitters.
Trust me, that's as close as it gets.
We got lots of hunters each season.
We put them on deer, and I mean good deer.
We're deer thugs.
Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is presented by Walmart. Save money, live better. Walmart.
Section 1, question 12.
How far is too far when shooting a rifle and bow?
50 yards with a bow, 200 yards with a rifle.
Jimmy Riley, Giles Island.
I know there's a lot of bow hunters out there that can hit the target at 70 yards. And there's a lot of gun hunters, you know, can kill a deer at 500 yards, I know that. But for our purposes over on the island, we're shooting old deer. That's our management program. So I ask the guys, don't let the hunters shoot a deer with a rifle outside of 200 yards because we can't judge the deer any further than that. It's hard enough to tell how old the buck is when he's right up under you, much less out past 200 yards. And with a bow, you know, I've seen a lot of people shoot at deer at 55, 60, 65 yards, and the buck is turned around and headed in the other direction before the arrow ever gets there. So from an ethical standpoint, I think 50 yards with a bow, 200 yards with a rifle. Mike Marbach runs COA Outfitters down here in Texas, and he called Rusty McDaniel with Mossy Oak and said, man, I'd like for y'all to come out and video some hunts out there, you know, show people what I got out here. And Rusty called me and said, hey man, I got this place out in Texas. I said, I'm in. That's all it took, you know. I don't get to hunt much doing all the guiding I do on Giles Island, so whenever they invite me to go hunting somewhere, I'm in like Flynn. I've hunted Texas before, last year with Kevin Burleson down at the Heart of Texas bow hunting, but I've never been to South Texas, so I really didn't know what to expect. You know, I heard big deer down there in South Texas, so I was really excited to get down here and see what they got. That first morning hunt, we were in the blind and hadn't even got daylight yet. We could see a little bit, and all of a sudden there's deer there already. Just breaking day, we got deer out in front of us. I think it's 5 does and fawns, and that little chip 6-point, good looking young 10-point. I mean, we saw way more bucks on this entire trip than we did those, but this first hunt, we had a nice 10-point come out there. Yeah, I like that 10-point. He's a bag of bones. That sucker is rutted down. They told me this is kind of like late rut going on down here right now. And he said the deer are starting to come back out and feed like they were doing before the rut. So that's good for us because bucks won't be in lockdown mode. Then an 11-point. This is a really nice 11-point, but he's too young. We've already got 2 bucks out here right now. They want us to shoot 5-year-old deer. That's what we're doing back home too, so I understand that. But when you're hunting 5-year-old deer, you're gonna have to watch a lot of 2 and 3 and 4-year-old deer before that old deer gets out there. He's not gonna be the first one out there. So I'm used to that part of it. It doesn't bother me to sit there and look at a bunch of bucks, even though I can't shoot them. I'd rather be looking at some bucks that I can't shoot rather than not seeing anything at all.
Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Walmart, Ram Truck Brand, Quaker Boy, Lethal, Mossberg, and by Precision Shooting Equipment.
Section 1, question 11.
How far is too far when shooting a rifle and bow?
Well, I think one of them is
based on your ability. The other one's based on the deer's ability.
Kevin Burleson, heart of Texas bow hunting.
Shooting a rifle is going to be something that you're going to have to figure out where is your comfort zone. You know, if you're capable of 200 and 300 and 400 yard shots and very accurate with it, then by all means take a 200 or 300 or 400 shot if it's an ethical shot. A bow is a much different thing. Arrows traveling 300 feet per second. Sound travels 1,100 feet per second. The deer's reaction time is incredible. As far as shooting a bow and the distance you shoot a bow, I really, at my place, recommend less than 30 yards. I consider that a pretty high percentage shot. You get outside 30 yards, you don't know what the deer is going to do by the time that arrow gets there. It's a guessing game once you get out there past a certain distance, and I really like 30 yards and less for a very high percentage shot.
Back home, you know, we're jacking up these trees and we can see down through the forest, and we might have one thick side, you know, one side or the other, and you use your ears just as much as you do your eyeballs back home. Down here, man, you get out here, you're in all these stickers and bushes, and there's really not anything to make noise. There's no leaves on the ground, there's not many twigs and stuff, and you're sitting here looking. You couldn't see a deer if they hadn't have made these right-of-ways. It's either a pipeline or it's a water line or just a grubbing that they did to open an area up where you can actually see a deer. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't see one. And so you're sitting there and you're looking down this lane here and this lane, there's nothing, and all of a sudden you look back and there's deer standing there. I mean, you hadn't heard anything, but all of a sudden there's deer there. And there's plenty of them.
Did you see that? We had 3 bucks out there feeding. They've been there for 30 minutes, and this one little fawn walks in. The boy, they all get excited and they run her off into the brush there. The oldest deer we had out here, he follows her, bro. That tells me right there, this is definitely the late rut. I mean, the pickings have gotten slim for mature does coming this season, so they've resorted to chasing fawns now.
That's the thing about post-rut and late rut, you know. Every time we had a doe out there, it wasn't long, she got intercepted by a buck.
That's that might be a shooter. He had, you know, kind of thick forearms on him. That expression on his face, he had a big old wide nose, and he just looked older to me. We're gonna let Mike look at the footage and see what he thinks about that deer. As long as he hang around out here today, he'll probably be back here tomorrow.
Call Thug with Chris Kirby.
Hey, another, I think, very important thing is when do you call soft versus, I mean, hard? What do you think the difference is?
You know, I think when you start talking about how loud do I want to call, how soft do I want to call, it's more the terrain you're in. I mean, if you've set up and you've done all your homework and you've gotten in there and you feel you're within 100 yards of a thicket and you think that buck is bedding in there, to go in there and grunt like a madman and bleat and snort wheeze and make all kinds of racket, you know, a scenario like that, I'm going to kind of ease into, and maybe just a soft little bleat to get him kind of get up out of the bed and come check it out. However, if it's blowing 30, 40 miles an hour and you see a deer out there, you know, 150 yards, there's nothing to say you can't jump all over that meat hook grunt call and just really get his attention. There's a lot that goes into that, and I guess over time, and I know you've developed it, it's a gut instinct, it's a gut feel. Man, when the hair on the back of your neck stands up and you think you're real close and in tight on that deer, you know how to react to that. But to go out there just constantly blowing grunt calls, blowing bleat calls, that doesn't happen in nature. So it doesn't make sense to do that. But there are scenarios where, yeah, you want to get after it.
Yeah, that's a good point there. And you know, the thing that's really important is visual. How much you can see, how much you can't see. You know, and if you get into that area, you know, that's kind of neat to understand. You know, when you blow loud, when you blow soft. That's some cool stuff.
Call Thug, brought to you by Deer Thug Calls, powered by Quaker Boy.
Yeah, we had a good morning hunt. First morning hunt. We saw a lot of bucks. We saw a nice young 11 point, and we saw an 8 point that I'd normally shoot anywhere else myself. Right now, I got to shoot this gun. We got in the other night off the airplane and decided we need to shoot this gun one time. I had it sighted in when I left Giles Island, but we said, let's shoot it. So I shot it the other night and it was 3 inches to the left. So we moved it back over, and I was 1 inch high when I left it last night. So but we want to shoot it today to make sure. So we're gonna try it, we're just gonna make sure. Because when old Sanchez hooking bull comes out this afternoon, I don't want to miss him. All right, there we go. Man, these are the neatest little targets right here. When you shoot, you can see from way back there at 100 yards exactly where you hit without having to walk down here every time. And they make them in this small size. You can carry them in your backpack, you know, on airplane trips and all this kind of thing. You don't have all this stuff to worry about, but I use them a lot. I love them. Make sure you got hearing protection. All right, boy, fire in the hole. I'm pretty sure that is right where I left it the other night. I didn't even have it on 10 power either. All right, I'm gonna shoot it one more time just to make sure. You always want 2 shots. Get you a good grouping going. You bow hunters know what I'm talking about. Lock and load, baby. Oh yeah, they right there. That one was about 1.5 inches high. The other one was 1 inch high. I'm leaving it. But boy, I tell you what, I'm a bow hunter. I bow hunted strictly for the past probably 18 years. They wanted me shooting deer with this gun. I hope I get to shoot one with it. But I've been shooting it now for about 2 months. And right out of the box, son, good, put you some good glass on top of it. It is sweet. This is the nicest trigger I've ever felt. All we need is old Sanchez Sad Daddy in front of us now. We ready to rock.
Section 1.
Question 4.
Would you cut shooting lanes the day you are going to hunt that spot?
Yes. Would, but don't prefer.
Yes.
Most of the time, no. I'd really like to have it done well before time.
Absolutely.
Rapid Fire is brought to you by Walmart. Save money, live better. Walmart. Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Come Here, Deer, Charlie O Products, New Fletch, Scott Archery, Schwacker Broadheads, and by Mossy Oak brand camo.
Section 1, question 12.
How far is too far when shooting a rifle and bow?
The distance you shoot your rifle or bow, that depends on the individual and how much they practice and what their comfort zone is. Don't ever shoot outside your comfort zone just because somebody tells you you can do it.
Justin Akins, Canadian River Hilton.
I've killed a lot of whitetails with my bow. I probably only killed 3 or 4 whitetails over 25 yards, and I've never shot one over 40, although I'll practice out to 60 plus, just to practice and be comfortable. With the rifle, I've got a steel range set up to 1,000 yards, and with the right equipment, knowing your distance, knowing your wind speed, you can shoot a long ways. When I have my clients in, I like for them to be able to comfortably shoot 300 yards off a good solid rest.
That first morning hunt, we saw an 8 point that I knew was a shooter. We decided to pass him up and make sure and let Mike look at the deer and make sure it's something he wanted us to take out.
Oh yeah.
There he is. I mean, he's got everything that I look for in an old buck back home, you know.
Right.
Thick forearms, his head, look how wide that nose is. I've been noticing your deer. We saw a lot of other bucks before this, and they didn't have that big wide short, blocky head, you know.
Right. You just look at the way he handles himself. I mean, he's definitely an older deer.
Yeah. We would have shot him, but it was so early in the hunt, his first morning. I'm like, man, let's just wait a little while. And if he's still hanging around here, you know, the next day or so. But he's definitely a shooter in your book, huh?
Absolutely. Okay. There's no doubt. That's just I appreciate you asking, but you know that.
I knew that was yeah, I knew that was a shooter. And look, he walks up here 20 yards of the stand. See? He's just right there. I don't know if he's still out there tomorrow or the next day, we might shoot him.
Absolutely.
But he'll probably never show up again. You know how they do.
No, you need to take that deer if you get a chance, because that'd be a good one to get out of the herd, you know, as far as our management program, but just a great deer.
Well, good. He's on the back of our mind.
All right.
Blake, we're fixing to start practicing with these bows. For a hunting situation, what distance should we be shooting from?
You know, it depends a lot on what you're hunting. You know, out west, people shoot at longer ranges and you're more apt to encounter a long shot out there than a tree stand hunter. And I always tell people to practice from the actual position, standing positions. If you're hunting from a tree stand, get real life situations. But that's more for preparing for the actual season. In the off season, I like for people to shoot at longer ranges than what they're typically comfortable with. For me, that's 60. A lot of people, that's 20 or 30. But I'd say if you're gonna be hunting at 20 yards, push out to 30 and 40 and see. It's gonna really make you bear down on your form and get that right.
Makes sense to me, but I'm gonna start at 20 and make sure I'm close first.
There you go, that'll save arrows in the long run.
So here we are, we're down to the last day. It's the last morning hunt, and we're trying to decide where we're gonna hunt. You know, I'm talking to Mike, and he said, man, you know, you're seeing different deer there. I know from past experience, that's a good spot for different bucks. You need to stick it out right there. You know, I got a list to him. Don't guide the guy. And if he thinks we need to sit there and you know, maybe that one of those old bucks that we've seen would come back out, or something new would come back out. So we took his advice on it.
Well, we came back to the same spot. We've been seeing deer every time we come in. We've been seeing bucks, and we've been seeing different bucks. It's late rut, and what you got is some of these bucks are coming out of rut, getting back into a feeding pattern. And these does, they finished the breeding season, and they coming in here starting to feed. We've had a little rutting activity here, so a buck come in here and be checking these does, and we got a doe out in front of us right now. That doe's, she's right here about 80 yards. And she's steadily looking back down the lane. There's something else over that hill. But it's too foggy, I can't see in there.
All we had was a doe out there, but that's what we wanted. We wanted that doe out there because this is a post rut, and you know, she's sitting in the crossroads actually, where if a buck come out in 3 different lanes, they could see her standing down there. And every time a buck came out and saw a doe standing down there, the chase was on. So
deer coming right, buck, buck, buck. All right, that's a shooter right there. That's a shooter. All right, I'm on him. It's right there.
All right, section 1, question 12.
How far is too far when shooting a rifle and bow?
How far is too far for shooting a rifle and a bow?
Fred Law, Enon Plantation.
With a rifle, for the average hunter, 200 yards on in. But for a hunter that's willing to spend a little bit on a rifle, spend a little bit on optics, and go to his local range and know what his rifle is capable of, you can extend that range to 300, maybe even 400 yards, and in some cases further. But everybody knows their limitations. If you're a 200-yard man on in, don't throw up a Hail Mary. Stick to your limitations. We all know them, and you'll be better off. A bow, For anything past 40 yards is too far, and preferably 30 yards in.
All right, I'm on him. He's right there. Turn a little bit more. There he is. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, baby. Good hit right there. Good hit right there. He didn't go far. You see that, baby? All right. Hey, I think he's laying right there. Let's go get him. Oh yeah, look. We got meat right there at point of impact, son. And we got deer. All right, look at that, babe. Good old South Texas brush buck right here, son. Nice old buck. This is just what Mike wanted us to do. And he's pretty. He's colored up real good. Look at that gray face on him. I'll tell you what made it special for me is this new Deer Thug rifle. Hadn't deer hunted with a rifle in 18 years, and it felt good. Anytime you can get away and go see something different and hunt a different place is good, but they got a lot of stickers, but they got a lot of deer. It's a lot of bushes and thicket and all, but the deer come out of it where you can see them. So would I do it again? You dang skippy.